Hello, this is Todd Luck, and this is a review of Zorro in the Land That Time Forgot, number 4 from American mythology. So this is crossing over The Land That Time Forgot, which was created by Edgar Rice Burroughs, who of course is the author of Tarzan and John Carter of Mars, and it crosses that concept over with Zorro, and of course you know who Zorro is. So this is the last part in a 4-issue crossover miniseries, and let's take a look at this cover. So I really love the concept here. Zorro having a sword fight with some dude while being carried away by a flying dinosaur. And, you know, it's very reminiscent of classic Zorro covers like this. And, you know, it just really captures that feel. Unfortunately, while the concept is really, really good, the execution is rather strange. So we can see that there's the pterodactyl, there's its head, there's its wings, a leg. But why in the name of the good Lord could it be holding on to Zorro with? There should be no leg or arm that's right next to the pterodactyl's head like that. I don't know what this is supposed to be. And that's unfortunate because, like I said, I really, really love this concept. I'm not even sure who did the cover. The credits on the inside of the comic credit Roy Allen Martinez, who's done the other covers. But as you can see, this doesn't look anything like his other covers. These are, well, pretty amazing. If I look on Comixology or something like that, it actually credits the cover to Mike Wolfer, who is the writer, but he also does covers for American mythology, and they are usually really spectacular. This is the cover he did for the first issue of The Land That Time Forgot that they put out. So I'm not sure who did the cover. I suspect it was probably something put out under less than ideal circumstances. I suspect, you know, there may have been a deadline crunch, or for some reason they had to put this out very quickly. I'd love to see either Roy or Mike or just any of the great artists they have take another swipe at this, because it is a really, really cool concept. Also, I'm not sure if you can see this on camera, but mine ended up having scuff marks on it. The guy at my comic shop thought that it probably was something that happened when it was printed, so that's unfortunate. But I am very pleased to say that the interior artwork by Alessandro Rinaldi absolutely holds up. On the 4th issue, this is really, really great stuff. I love the way he renders characters. I love the energy behind it, the storytelling, the pterodactyl. You know, he draws dinosaurs and people, you know, equally well. And that's exactly what you want in a comic book like this. And I gotta say, it was a very satisfying conclusion. The writing by Mike Wolfer continues to be excellent. It is Zorro, you know, stranded with some explorers in a lost land called Kaspok, with some Spanish soldiers who are up to no good. And, you know, the usual hijinks ensue. You know, Zorro fights the soldiers, Zorro fights dinosaurs. It's just really, really great stuff. Danger around every corner. The heroes get separated and have to come back together. All your classic Burroughs stuff combined with all your classic Zorro stuff. Just a perfect meld in a crossover that sounds crazy when you hear it, but makes absolute sense when you read it. And I gotta say, one thing I forgot to mention last issue that carried over into this one, there's a lot of, you know, they meet stuff on Kaspok that's dangerous and have to deal with it. But there is one interaction between the female hero and one of the natives that doesn't involve danger, but is very true to Burroughs, and just really, really made me smile that they were able to kind of incorporate something like that in there, because that was definitely something you would see in some of the Burroughs novels. And so I give this miniseries my highest possible recommendation. This to me is what Tarzan versus Predator was back in the 90s. This was a really great, logical crossover, well executed, that just is a perfect gateway drug to either of these franchises. If you're a fan of Zorro, you know, I think this is going to intrigue you to what The Land That Time Forgot is like. And if you're a fan of Burroughs, this is going to intrigue you as to what Zorro is like, which is my situation. This miniseries is my first time picking up Zorro, and I've since sampled some stuff and been very impressed. So if you're looking for further reading for either concept, let me actually start with movies first, though, because they have actually both had movies. So Land That Time Forgot actually had a movie back in the 70s and even a sequel. The first movie does a great job adapting the Burroughs novel. I really enjoyed it, and you can get it for really cheap nowadays. And there is a B movie, Land That Time Forgot, that was made more recently. That's on Tubi if you want to try that out, but I can't vouch for that one, and it does definitely look a little bit further out from the novel, shall we say. Obviously, Zorro has had a lot of movies. If you're looking for something you can stream, Disney Plus has The Sign of Zorro, which is kind of a compilation movie of some episodes from the Guy Williams Zorro series, and I actually really enjoyed it. It's an older show, but it's well done. Tubi has a lot of Zorro. They actually have a lot of the older stuff that's in black and white. They have serials. They have the original silent film, The Mark of Zorro, and they actually have, in color, a movie from the 1970s that has probably one of the best sword fights I've ever seen. The last 30 minutes of that movie are amazing. But let's talk comic books. So if you want more to Land That Time Forgot comics, that's easy. Go on American Mythology's website, go under their shop for the Edgar Rice Burroughs stuff, scroll down to the bottom, and just work your way up and get all the Land That Time Forgot comics from #1. If you like the Land That Time Forgot, you're going to love the others too. I highly recommend just getting all the Edgar Rice Burroughs stuff from American Mythology. There's also a really amazing comic strip subscription that you can get on the Edgar Rice Burroughs website, and it's only like $22 a year, but you get these really great adaptions of Burroughs novels, including the Land That Time Forgot novels. And I suppose I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the great Russ Manning took his try at the land of Kaspok with some Tarzan stories, and you can get this in trade. Zorro, on the other hand, has a lot of comics. So let's just go back for the last 30 years because I think those are probably the ones that would be easiest to get. So Marvel had a 12-issue Zorro series back in the 90s, and this was based on the Family Channel Zorro series. And if you're interested in this, American Mythology does have plans to reprint this as Zorro New World. That'll be the name of the reprint series. Later in the 90s, Topps would get Zorro, and they put out Dracula vs. Zorro with writing by Don McGregor and art by Thomas Yeats, and this creative team would actually do a Zorro comic strip in newspapers that ran at the time, and that is also available in a collection from Image Comics. Don McGregor also did a Zorro series with Mike Mayhew doing the artwork, and this was actually the series that introduced Lady Rawhide, which also had her own mini-series, and the series is actually pretty affordable to get even with the first appearance of Lady Rawhide. In recent years, Dynamite got Zorro, and the great Matt Wagner wrote most of that, and this run is probably best known for Zorro Django, a crossover where Matt Wagner got to co-plot it with Quentin Tarantino himself. It's quite good. And this era of Zorro is a little bit darker than you're used to. It definitely kind of goes more into the R-rated territory. The captain is cutting off people's fingers for not paying their taxes and going on explicitly describing how he's going to torture Zorro to death. And Bernardo is mute because he hid under the bed that his mom was gang raped on and stuff like that. So it is definitely a darker tone, definitely not necessarily something I give to really young children. And I think all of the Dynamite Zorro is currently on Comixology Unlimited, which is a great subscription service. It costs, I think, maybe like $6 a month, but you get tens of thousands of comics and just tons of Zorro series as you can read from beginning to end from Dynamite. Plus a few other things like Alex Toth Zorro, which is actually quite good as well. And that brings us to the current era of Zorro comics by American Mythology. They do reprint comics of older Zorro stuff, like this one that's a reprint of the first appearance of Zorro in comics. And I've actually done a review of their Legendary Adventure reprint series that you might want to check out. And then there's the new stuff from American mythology. This is basically Zorro versus the supernatural is the direction they've taken him in. And so the first one is Zorro's Swords of Hell. I'll do a full review at some point, but I found it was quite good, and I plan to pick up the other miniseries. The last one they did was called Galleon of the Dead. And it does take a little bit of getting used to see Zorro fighting like zombies and supernatural stuff. But the way I think of it is this. Back when like Superman started out, you know, and other superheroes, they basically started out fighting like gangsters and racketeers and saboteurs and just, you know, just normal people. And eventually, you know, they would fight super criminals like Lex Luthor and aliens and stuff like that. And that's what we kind of associated with superheroes, right? And so this is sort of taking Zorro and trying to you know, pit him against something a little more fantastic. Because, you know, while the story of him versus the corrupt Spanish Empire is really engaging and really good, it's been done so many times. It's good to actually, you know, kind of get out of the safe zone and kind of do something new and, you know, kind of create new territory with the character. And if you're wondering about the tone of the American mythology stuff, I would say it's very much classic Zorro tone. It's, you know, he's funny, he's, you know, swashbuckling, you know, he's laughing in the face of danger. It's just that the danger here happens to be, you know, demons and the undead and stuff like that. It's certainly not, you know, kind of the rated R stuff. It's more, you know, PG-13. You know, if your kids watched The Mandalorian and they're fine, they should have no problem with this. And I think that's a good direction to take Zorro in. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the Dynamite stuff. You know, the stuff I've read from Matt Wagner was amazing, but I personally feel like the character is just so cool and, you know, would appeal to children so much. I feel like it should be accessible. It should be something that you can read if you're 4 or 104, right? And there's something about, you know, that lighthearted charm of the character, you know, the way he cracks jokes and just has fun while he's, you know, Zorro. I think there's something about that that's one of the reasons why he's still around 100 years later, because so many of the superheroes and vigilantes that would come after him were so super serious and all this stuff. And that's just not very realistic. I mean, no matter how serious your job is, at some point you're going to smile. At some point you're going to crack jokes, whether you're having a good time or it's just, you know, your way of dealing with stress. And that, you know, is something I think makes Zorro a little more authentic and a little more identifiable than some of the characters that would come after him. And I think, you know, that's the reason why he's so popular. And, you know, other characters like Spider-Man, for instance, is very much in that same vein. But there is also the undeniable draw of how damn cool he looks and, you know, that he's a sword fighter and, you know, how unique that is in American pop culture. And so I would be remiss if I did not point out that Boss Fight Studios has put out a really amazing figure that is available right now of Zorro on the 3 3/4 inch scale. And I've done a review of that. You might want to check that out too. So anyway, that's it. You might want to check out some of my other reviews, Edgar Burroughs comics and Zorro comics. And by the way, I also did a review of Zorro Zero from Topps Comics and had a little bit of fun roasting that one. It's very 90s, put it that way. So I've got plenty of other reviews coming up, so like and subscribe for more videos, and until next time, I think Don Diego should have told Captain Montero that Caspak was absolutely fine. It's a wonderful place for him and his soldiers to all go at one time and take a really long extended vacation. All Zorro's problems would be solved in one fell swoop. See ya.